Hello, everyone. I'm Gustavo Tolosa here from Dallas, Texas, and I am excited tonight to interview Chef AJ for a wonderful webinar that will have 7 strategies to help us survive the holidays. We all need that help. And I just want to make sure that everybody can see me and hear me, because I have a little button on my screen that is a little strange. I haven't seen before, and I want to make sure that you all can see and hear. Anyway, Chef AJ is in LA, and for those of you who are new to the group and don't know, Chef AJ is the founder of the Ultimate Weight Loss Program. And of course, he's an author, a writer, and a speaker, and a wonderful, incredible chef that has gone through a lot of changes in her life. And now, of course, we all know her as the queen of plant-based, oil-free, sugar-free, flour-free, salt-free cooking, and that tastes great. That's what's important. So anyway, without further ado, I welcome you, Chef AJ. How are you doing from LA, California?
Hello, everyone. Hi, thank you guys so much for being here. I'd like this to be a little interactive, Gustavo. So let's ask them lots of questions so that we can, help them with this what can be a very difficult time of year. And I'd like to start out by asking all those that are watching live to type in the chat box. Are the holidays stressful for you? Are you one of these Walton type families that just look forward to them every year, or are the holidays stressful for you?
All right.
So fast, I won't see that. So they're saying hello, so thank you. So let me know if I'm in the right group. Are the holidays stressful for you? Yes, me too, me too. It's a really stressful time of year. Even if you enjoy them, like if your daughter's getting married, that's a joyous thing, but there can be stress. So do you guys find that you gain weight during the holiday? Laura dreads the holidays. Patty says,
look at that. I can see the poll. I don't know if you can see it, AJ.
I can't see the poll, but I'm seeing that they're dreading them. They're horrible. Hate the holidays. Me too, Anne. That's why I go to True North. So this
can you see the percentage in the screen? It says, have you ever gained weight during the holidays? And 87% are saying yes, and 15% said no.
Good for you.
So that's most people. Good for the 15%.
So people do feel anxiety about it. They're trying to achieve their goal weight. They make me sad. Exactly. So good. That's good, because then we're in the right place, because I, like you, not all of you, but I've always hated the holidays. But even if you hate them, even if you love them, you don't have to gain weight during them. And we're going to teach you ways that you can navigate them with the 7 strategies that you can survive the holidays. But it's good to know where everybody's coming from. One of the reasons I wanted to do this webinar, Gustavo, and we wrote this in the description about, it's sort of joking that it starts with a fun-sized Snicker bar, but I actually had a very dear friend who was one of the most severe food addicts I had ever known. And he was working the program. He was doing great, reversing his diabetes. He had been to True North, gotten off his medication. And he had one slip on Halloween, literally a fun-sized Snicker bar. That slip led to a 63-day relapse of binging, and by January 2nd, he was in kidney failure. I'm not kidding. I mean, hopefully you guys aren't in that same boat, but I just want you to understand the gravity of the situation. What may seem like an innocent Snicker actually did, in the other person's case, put them into kidney failure, and they ended up on dialysis. And not that I wish that on any of you, but I want you to know the gravity of the situation. And that's why I wanted to do this webinar now, because in 2 weeks or less than 2 weeks, we have Halloween, which I think is the most ridiculous holiday in the world. I think it's stupid that we have a holiday surrounded by candy like that when we have a country that 3/4 of the people are overweight or obese. So I want you guys to be proactive and learn some of these strategies now, implement them now, so when the holidays hit, whether you hate them or love them, you are protected. And I think that's really important. It's funny, Gustavo, I had an email the other day from a young lady that said that her daughter was getting married and she wanted to lose 30 pounds before her daughter's wedding. And I said, could I help her? And I said, sure. When's the wedding? And she said, in 3 weeks. Well, the time to lose 30 pounds for a wedding is not 3 weeks before the wedding. It's probably 3 months or a year before the wedding. And so the time to start protecting yourself from the holiday stress isn't now, it's it's a long time ago, but we're still going to give you some tips that hopefully are going to help you. So it should be pretty obvious that the reason people gain weight during the holidays is because they eat more food than they should, that their body requires. But why do they eat so much more food during the holidays and pretty much any time of year? I researched, how come? Tell me what you think.
I want to tell you something really quick that I'm seeing on the screen. Yeah. I see that 67% have answered that they have gained more than 5 pounds from Halloween to New Year's, and 29% have gained more than 10 pounds.
Yeah.
So it's
that is statistically significant. So I love that Cynthia's giving out stickers, not Snickers. Connie says it's hard to taste test when I bake. That's why I don't bake anymore. That's why I'm not a pastry chef, just so you know. But that is statistically significant, because when I tried to research how much weight people actually gain during the holidays, and I didn't just use Google or the internet, I actually went into the medical literature, Medscape, PubMed. There was no agreement, because some people said it was 7 to 10 pounds. Some people said, no, it was only 1 pound. But what they did agree on is that the weight that is gained during those 63 days from Halloween to Christmas is weight that is generally never taken off. And so if you can imagine, I'm going to be at my 40th high school reunion next April. And if you gain 1 pound every year since high school, by the time you're at your 40th high school reunion, you're going to be 40 pounds overweight. So while 1 pound may not seem like a lot, if it's a pound that you never take off, it's too much. Whether you feel like you're the Hallmark card and find the holidays to be full of comfort or joy, or if you dread them or dislike them or even hate them like me, the reality is that the holidays are more stressful for everyone, because we find that we're overcommitted, we're overextended, we're overtired, we very often overspend. A comedian once said that he described the holidays as spending money on people you don't like for stuff they don't need. And that sort of is true in a lot of ways, because we feel like we have to, give our hairdresser a present, and we do all these things. And so one of the things I suggest, and we haven't even gotten to the 7 strategies for survival yet, is you can treat people well all year round. I don't feel like I have to go out of my way to give my hairdresser or my manicurist anything special during the holidays, because I am generous with them all year. I overtip, and I feel like I've taken care of them all year, and I think they know that, and I think they appreciate that. So I don't stress myself out during the holidays to try to make some big extravagant gesture for people. I try to love them and be kind all year round. And so I escape the holidays. For the last 6 years, I've had the privilege of presenting at True North Health during the holiday extravaganza, and you're all invited. It's a safe, compliant place to be. Sugar-free, oil-free, salt-free, flour-free food. Not only will you not gain weight if you go there, you'll lose weight. But I escape the holidays because for me, they're terribly stressful. I don't have any family really other than Charles and my sister, and they're a very lonely time for me. So if you're lonely, you're going to feel more lonely at the holidays. If you're anxious and depressed, you're probably going to feel more anxious and depressed. If you're sad, you're probably going to feel sadder, because everything is heightened. And we have these images from these Hallmark movies that everybody is a loving family and getting along, when the reality is it's not that at all. And it makes people feel very bad. And so what do people often do when they feel bad? They eat. And they're not eating broccoli slaw. They're eating the hyper-palatable, hyper-concentrated, high-fat, high-calorie food that is present all year round, but it's more present in abundance during the holidays. And it's not only present, but it's the special food that we don't really see the other times a year. So it's like there's this urgency, like, well, if I don't eat, the pumpkin pie on Thanksgiving, well, I may not get it. But the reality is there is pumpkin all year round, and you could eat pumpkin pie all year round if you wanted to. What I found was interesting when I did this research is the people that are at most risk for gaining weight during the holidays are people who are currently overweight or people that have lost weight. And so the people that are statistically most at risk for gaining weight the holidays are people that have lost weight, which is many of the people in the Ultimate Weight Loss Program, which is why I want to do this webinar, because if you're in that category, you want to at least maintain your weight. Now, I don't think it's realistic. If you have not been able to lose weight all year or adopt a healthy eating program or a healthy lifestyle, I don't know if it's realistic to think that you're going to do your best and lose weight during these 63 days. But what I can assure you, if you follow these 7 strategies, at least you can maintain your weight. And as far as I'm concerned, maintaining is a win. If you can maintain your weight during the most stressful time of year where most people are gaining weight, you've won. And so that's what we want to do. And if you follow all these strategies, who knows, maybe you will lose a pound, but that should be the goal. You want to be sane and you want to maintain, right? So anyway, so let's get into what these strategies are. And I call them the 7 strategies because there's 7 of them. And now the first one, if you're in the Ultimate Weight Loss Program, you've heard me talk about, and that is to control your environment. In my lecture, The 7 C's to Success, one of the things that I try to impress upon you is that if it's in your house, it's in your mouth. Your environment is the #1 predictor of your success. And Dr. Lyle, who both Gustavo and I have interviewed multiple times, has said that we have to work harder on our environment than ourselves. Now, your environment isn't just your house. That's your main environment, but it's everywhere you go. So when you go to the mall, that is your environment. And this time of year, everything is in excess. So for example, Costco is generally not a trigger for me. I avoid the bakery. I just go straight to the produce section and get my organic fruits and vegetables. And I go to the freezer section and get my frozen fruits and vegetables and organic rice, and I check out. And Costco's generally not a problem. I get there when they open, while they're not baking, so I don't have to smell the cinnamon rolls. And while they're not sampling, they sample more later in the day and they sample more on the weekends. But now, guess what they have at Costco, Gustavo? Gingerbread houses. Now, when I was bulimic in my 20s, that was my favorite binge food. And you could only get them at the holidays because gingerbread houses are not available except for this time of year. And they're expensive, the pre-made ones, and I would make them myself. And it's just, when I see gingerbread houses, it's like my eyes want to pop out of my head because that was my favorite food growing up. When I was little, my mom, when she would bring me a treat, she would bring me, there as an equivalent of a gingerbread house, they would make these cookies. They were gingerbread cookies with that fondant. And they would be like shaped like a flower or a duck, and they'd have that really sickly sweet kind of crunchy white frosting. And that's what my mom would give me a lot. And so I have warm memories associated with my mother, and I loved it. It's basically sugar and flour and nothing else. There's not, I think they're vegan, there's no eggs. And so now when I go to Costco, there's no way I can't get past those gingerbread houses. So now Costco has become my environment too. So you have to be really careful that all the environments now are going to be filled with these hyper-palatable, highly caloric foods. And we're going to be doing more socializing, many of us, and people are going to have more champagne and more alcohol and more candies, cakes, cookies, pies, and ice cream, and the kind that are only available once a year, like the gingerbread house. So you have to be really, really aware of that. If you allow these foods in your house, now see, I don't. Now, anybody that knows me knows that no one can have alcohol if you smoke, if you drink, and if you eat meat. That's your prerogative, and I'll still be your friend. But you can't do that in my house, just like people can't bring in hyper-palatable foods with sugar, flour, oil, or salt in my house. But a lot of people, especially women that are overweight, are people pleasers. They're highly agreeable, really sweet, kind people. They're not able to say that to people. So some of these foods might be coming into their home. And if you're not able to be proactive and tell your guests, please don't bring them to me, what you need to do is get them out of your environment as quickly as possible, which means that the minute you receive that gift, if you haven't opened it, you re-gift it. You can take it to a church. You can take it to a homeless shelter. If it's toxic crap, you can give it to somebody you don't like. If it's a bottle of alcohol, but the minute that comes in the house, unless they're there that minute, you have to get rid of it. So whether that means re-gifting it, whether that means throwing it away, because Dr. Goldhammer always says better in the trash than in your stomach. Sending it home with guests is a great way to do it. But I don't want you guys to throw it away, because I'll tell you, there have been people, if you ever saw that episode of Seinfeld or Sex in the City, that are such bad food addicts that they will throw it in the trash and then they will eat it out of the trash. I'm sorry to say that is very common behavior. I'm not trying to shame you, but people do that. So what you have to do is then put it in the garbage disposal with water and zhuzh it up, because you can't even have it in the trash, because if it's in your house, it's in your mouth, it will call to you. And if it's in your house, it's not a matter of if you will eat it, only when. So if you don't have a rule like I do, a non-negotiable, that those things are not allowed in your house, get them out as quickly as possible. Not the next day, but when the party is over. If at all possible, don't even allow them to be brought in your house. If you're a recovering alcoholic, probably your friends know that they're never to bring alcohol in your house. Well, maybe you need to have that conversation this year with them, to tell them that you are a food addict, and for you, sugar and flour and all those kind of wonderful Christmas treats are to you what alcohol is to an alcoholic or cocaine is to a cocaine addict, and you're sorry and you appreciate the effort that they went to, but you can't have it in the house. And the sooner you do that, the easier it'll be to keep doing it with other people. And again, you can tell them how much you appreciate it. You know, you want to accept the love behind the offer instead of the poison. And so that's something you might have to work on all year round, those strategies of being able to refuse these kind of foods. But it's worse at the holidays because the food is special. And there's something with this special food that, like the Easter egg, the chocolate Easter egg that we can only get once a year, or the chocolate rabbit. And these foods, the candy canes, and they appear only once a year. The Harry and David, you know, all this kind of moose munch or whatever. So that is very important. So control your environment. If at all possible, don't allow the food in your home environment in the first place. I know a lot of you have jobs, you're nurses, patients are always giving you can't really control that, but you can control your distance to it. So in other words, you know, if you're a nurse, I used to be a respiratory therapist, and I know this because there was always See's Candy. There were many options for us to sit when we had a chart for each patient. So instead of sitting in front of the box of See's Candy or Krispy Kreme donuts, take it into the break room, take it somewhere where it's not in your direct eye line or where you can smell it, you know? So one of the things that really helps when you have to go to these holiday parties, potlucks, and we teach this all the time in Ultimate Weight Loss, is pre-eat, 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 pre-eat. A lot of vegans do that just because there's not vegan choices. But when you're on a health promoting diet and you're trying to not gain weight, it's even more important, because when you're hungry, you will make a bad decision and willpower goes right out the window. So you want to make sure not only you pre-eat so that there's enough food in your belly, but that you have adequate starch. I just spent 5 days with a lovely man, and you might have seen me do 2 Facebook Lives with him, named Andrew Taylor. He's known as SpudFit. And for a year, he's eating nothing but potatoes. And he has lost 110 pounds since January. And I was eating like him while he was here. Usually I eat way more vegetables. I'm telling you, when you eat potatoes, you're so full you can't eat anything else. So make sure that when you go to these holiday parties, you pre-eat, and you pre-eat enough starch, because it is so much easier to avoid extra food, excess food, hyperpalatable food when you're not hungry. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking, well, I'm going to this holiday party tonight, so I'm going to skimp during the day. The exact opposite is what you should be doing. If you know you're going to a holiday party at night, you should be eating more vegetables, more fruit, more potatoes, so that by the time you get to that party, you're so full, you can't eat anything. So pre-eating is always going to be your best bet. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, because in the Ultimate Weight Loss program, we teach you, well, don't eat if you're not hungry. And if I'm going to this party at 7 o'clock and I'm not hungry, well, then I shouldn't pre-eat. Well, you're right. You shouldn't. So what do you do in that case? I do this all the time. I did it at a wedding in Vegas recently, is you always bring food with you. Now, if you're a guy, you probably maybe don't want a purse, and I'm sure they sell these for men, but Sharon McRae got this for me, and I've seen this at Target and Bed Bath & Beyond, and they actually come even fancier than this. Tupperware makes one. This is a cooler purse. It's insulated, and I have an ice chip from the 99-cent store, and this keeps food cold for several hours, probably 8 hours. I use this on the airplane. And again, they come in purple. They make them so that they look exactly like purses. I've snuck these into movie theaters, and nobody knows that it's a cooler. And so what I do is I have my purse with me at all times, and people just think it's a purse. If you don't want to carry it with you, you can leave it in your car. I've excused myself often when there's been nothing to eat at parties and said, oh my goodness, I left my cell phone in my car, or I think I left my lights on, and I've gone out and I've eaten when I was hungry. So always have food with you. And we advise you to do this anyway, just even in the Ultimate Weight Loss program, 365 days a year, because you can't expect the world to cater to your diet, and you always have to be prepared. You know, they say that being prepared, what is that Boy Scout saying? You know, be prepared. If you fail to plan to fail. So I never leave home without my cooler purse. I don't want to say never. If I walk Bailey for an hour, I don't think I need food. But when I go to the gym, I've got my vegetables with me. I've got my potatoes. I always have food with me, because I just can't expect that my food is going to magically appear. What if my car breaks down? What if I'm out longer? So I always have something like carrots or apples and some kind of starch like cooked potatoes or sweet potatoes. So always have food with you. The other option is holiday parties are often potlucks, maybe not, but bring a dish to share. And what I would suggest is be very specific. So when you're invited somewhere and the host, you know, invites you I'm going to Thanksgiving. Most hosts are very appreciative because it's very stressful cooking these huge dinners for these holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas. Every now and then you come across one that won't accept anything. And so in a case like that, what I would do if they were really like, no, you can't bring anything, and you don't want to be inconveniencing to them, so you don't want to say, well, I'm on a special diet, can you just bake a couple potatoes? What you do in a case like that when they've said no to everything is you bring them a food gift. So in other words, like for instance, the edible arrangements, those things that are gorgeous, they're fruit, and so then you have something to eat. But most hosts will accept something, and so what you can do is you can be very, very specific. Instead of saying, can I bring something? Well, that's not specific, and they'll often say no, saying, hey, I know how hard it is to make a delicious salad and chop and wash all those vegetables. Is it okay? I make a really great salad. Can I bring a really nice big salad for everybody to eat? And then of course you're going to have starch in the salad, like I showed you in the webinar, the 7 secrets to superior satisfaction. There's some rice. So offer to bring a very specific dish that you know will be enjoyed by everyone. The quinoa salad from my book is another great one. So offer, most hosts will accept that. If they won't, I mean, do you really want to go anyway when somebody's like that? And of course you can always make your dietary needs known. And hopefully by now, you've told your friends and family that you're on a special diet. You can always use Dr. Lyle's strategy. Doctor's orders seems to be working for me, just trying it out. You don't mean to be difficult. I mean, I have clients that take this program so seriously that when they have to eat at restaurants, they go ahead of time and they bring their food, and the restaurant is used to doing this, and the restaurant heats it up and plates it for them, and they charge them for the lowest entree, and then they never go off plan. So if there's a will, there's a way. If you really want to be compliant, you can do it, but you need to prepare, and you really need to tightly control those environments. So go through your house right now, make sure there's no compliant food right now, get rid of it now. Somebody said, well, I don't know how to bake without tasting it. Well, if you're a food addict like me, once I realized I had food addiction, I had to quit my job as a pastry chef. That was the only way I could recover. I had treatment from some of the world's leading experts. And, if you're a food addict and you're still baking, that's sort of like being an alcoholic, being a bartender. It's probably not going to work out for you, or at least not long term. So get everything out of the environment. If you have a job where it can't be in the environment, maybe you can negotiate with your boss at least to move it. What's his name? Brian Wansing in Mindless Eating showed that if a secretary or an administrative assistant had a candy jar on her desk versus having it just a few feet away in the filing cabinet, she'd eat less, or if she put it in a non-see-through glass. So there are strategies you can implement. I know that if you are not the boss, you can't always control that. Go through your glove compartment, get rid of those Snickers and all that stuff. Don't bring Halloween candy into your house, guys. Really, kids really like things like stickers and glow sticks and lottery tickets and money. And, I know a lot of dentists give out toothbrushes. That may be boring, but kids love toys, because that if you buy that Halloween candy, it's going in your mouth. It may go a few in the trick-or-treaters basket. So you cannot underemphasize the importance of environmental control. I could probably talk about that for an hour, but I promise you that if you have these foods in your house, it's not a question of when. If you will slip up or relapse, it's only when. If it's in your house, it's in your mouth. If it's in your house, it's in your mouth. You guys, are they able to type now? It's disabled right now, right, Gustavo? So I just wonder, do you guys agree with that if it's in your house, you're going to eat it? Or do you have the will of iron that you can, not eat the fruitcake and not eat the, the profiterole, whatever those cream puff things that look like a Christmas tree? I mean, does this make sense to you guys? Do you agree that if it's in your house, it's in your mouth? Okay.
I definitely agree with that.
Too much stuff.
Yeah.
So that's number one. Control your environment. All right. So number two, and this is so.
Number two, what's the number two pre-eat, or what's that part of the environment?
That was all in environmental control. So we still have.
Okay.
The first secret is just controlling your environment, all your environments. The second strategy for surviving the holidays is keep established routines. This is when so many people throw their routines out the window. So a lot of people use the busyness of the holiday season to excuse themselves from their daily meditation or their morning workout. Instead of loosening the reins, this is when you want to tighten the screws. Keeping these established routines are critical this time of year. I am not any more special or intelligent than any of you, but what I am, possibly maybe more of, is diligent. For the last 3 years, I've spoken on the Holistic Holiday at Sea Cruise. And if any of you have been on a cruise, whether it's vegan or not, you know that it's like Christmas. Every day, 24-hour buffets, pizza, 24 hours a day, even vegan pizza, more pastries than you've ever imagined, and midnight buffets. I mean, it's egregious, the amount of food. I mean, I don't eat bacon, but I've never seen more bacon in my life than on a cruise, how much food there is. And my roommate on the cruise gained 8 pounds. And I lost 3. So how did I do that? Well, because I work with John Pierre, my partner in the Ultimate Weight Loss Program. And when I am faced with a stressful situation, I actually up my game. I double down. I don't loosen the reins, because the minute you loosen the reins, the horse gets away from you. And that's when you fall off the horse and all hell breaks loose. So to give you an example, I have a routine of daily meditation, 30 minutes a day, and that is my weakest link of all the brain recovery and restoring activities, the food, the meditation, and the exercise. That's where I'm weakest. I've only been doing it a year, and I'm not as consistent as I'd like to be, but I make sure to make it a priority when I'm very stressed, because that will make a difference. And if I have a daily meditation of 20 minutes and you can't do 20 minutes, do 5, but don't abandon your routine because you can't get the whole routine done. Do something, because I'm telling you, the best meditation is the one you'll actually do. And that 5 minutes in the morning can make a difference for the next 23 hours and 55 minutes. My exercise routine isn't really that much. I walk Bailey every day, probably 2 45-minute walks, and I spin 3 days a week. When I go on the cruise, or when I break my routine, meaning I'm away from home, I'm speaking at a conference, I am at the gym. And when I say at the gym, there's a gym on the ship and there's a gym at whatever hotel I'm staying at every single day, first thing in the morning. I exercise more when I'm out of my environment. And as far as eating, I eat even cleaner when I'm away, because I'm so scared of what will happen if I indulge in these foods, because I know myself and it's a slippery slope. So at home, I may loosen the reins a little and try a recipe and maybe eat something richer. But when I'm away, I eat as cleanly and as strictly as possible. So I do the opposite of what most people do on vacation, which is why when I go to the cruise, I end up at my lowest weight. I come home always weighing 114 pounds. And so what I'm trying to say is your goal doesn't have to be to lose weight this holiday season. It's a great goal to just maintain your weight. But understand, if you have the intention of being stricter, you may not be, but at least have that intention that you are going to keep your daily routines. Now, if you don't have a daily routine of some kind of brain recovery and restoring activities like meditation and exercise, the time to get them is now, or you probably should have started a long time ago. It's never too late though. But please don't break your routines, up your game if you can, and at least have the goal that you're going to do that. At least, have it written in your calendar. If I have my calendar here, I write everything down. Everything, if it's in the calendar, whether it's a dentist appointment or a workout, if it's written down, I'm going to do it. And so that's a great thing to have right there as your tool. Same thing with keeping a food journal. So please don't break your daily routines. If you don't have a daily routine, then implement one now as soon as possible. And again, it doesn't have to be, running a triathlon or meditating 20 minutes twice a day. It can be just sitting quietly and deep breathing 5 minutes in the morning. It can be taking a walk around the block, but do something. Self-care is healthcare. So I'm just curious, Gustavo, how many people just abandon their daily routines once the holiday hits?
Okay, let's see what they say.
Yeah.
Can you see the message that I sent to you, AJ?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah. Oh, I did see it just now. I'll try to speed up because I know there's a debate. So I'll try to talk a little faster. So, okay, you forgot your dog when you talked about your family. Okay. So number 3 of the 7 strategies for surviving the holidays is find ways to manage stress. And again, just like the lady that wanted to lose 30 pounds 3 weeks before her daughter's wedding, if you haven't done it yet, there's no time like the present. But here's the thing. You need to find ways to mitigate your stress in life all year long. But it's even more important during the holidays when we're prone to a greater amount of stress. I live across the street from the Fashion Square Mall. I avoid malls during the holidays because I want to avoid those environments. But the reality is that even just leaving my house to go to the gym, there's more traffic, which means there's more stress. Dr. Gould, the emotional eating expert who wrote the book Shrink Yourself, says until we can manage our stress, we'll never be able to manage your weight. And so the best ways I find to manage stress are with these recovering, restoring activities like regular exercise, like meditation. Of course, getting the food right helps, because when you eat flour and sugar and drink alcohol, that just, I think, increases your stress because it also increases your weight and your cravings. But whatever that is to you, getting a massage, walking a dog, playing with your pet. Anything you can do to dial down the stress is going to help. So find ways to manage stress without drinking alcohol and doing those kind of things that are counterproductive. And that's really going to help. And we want to find these ways and do them all year long. So number 4 is have a plan. They say that a fool with a plan is generally more successful than a genius without one. So I would encourage you guys to think about what are your goals this holiday season, and then create a plan around it. So most people just enter them without really having a plan. But see, my goal is to maintain my weight. But that's my goal, my long-term goal, and maybe even lose weight at the time that everybody else is gaining weight and indulging. So the thing is you have to decide what is your greatest challenge. What is your greatest challenge going to be this holiday season, and create a plan around it. Because if you go to Thanksgiving dinner, for example, and that's when all the food bullies are out and they made it just for you, you need a plan in place so that you know what you're going to do. Are you going to eat it? Are you going to eat? You need to know the strategies so that you can implement them. One of the things you can do is, of course, it's going to help, of course, if you pre-eat, you're not going to be hungry. But I can tell you something that really works for a lot of my clients, because most of these holidays aren't sit-down dinners where you're being plated every course. They seem to be sort of like kind of a help yourself kind of thing, a buffet. One of the things you can do is always hold a glass of water in your hand. Always hold a glass of water in your hand. One of the reasons it works is because, well, then you're not holding a glass of alcohol in your hand, but also if you hold a glass of water in your hand, it is really hard to keep filling the buffet up when you have only one hand. And so you're going to eat less. So always making sure you have a glass of water, a glass of mineral water. If you worry that it doesn't look like alcohol and everybody else is drinking alcohol, it can be seltzer with lime, but always hold a glass in your hand, because you keep that hand busy and then it's much harder, because what are you going to do? How are you going to eat with one hand? The other thing you can do is, again, this is environment, is distance yourself from the buffet. If there's a buffet, find the items that you can eat or that you choose to eat, and eat only those items. What I do when I'm faced with a buffet is I never go first. I wait till everybody has filled their plate, and then I do a little poll and I say, in your opinion, what were the 3 best items there? Because truthfully, guys, that fruit salad with marshmallow or whatever, not every single item in a buffet or a potluck is going to be delicious. Why waste your calories on that? So I wait, and I told this to Brian Wensing, I wait a while, I ask everybody what the best were, and then I just eat those, because anytime you have variety, it encourages overeating. You always consume more. So find the few things that you really like and eat those. And again, always hold that glass of water in your hand. Stay as far away from the food as possible after you're eating. So, and decide what your non-negotiables are, because, it's not hard for me not to eat sugar, flour, drink alcohol, because I just don't do those things. It's not hard for me not to kick my dog, because I don't do that. It's not hard for me to eat meat, because these are non-negotiables. And so I think one of the problems is many people in the Ultimate Weight Loss Program don't like the idea of abstinence, and they've never claimed these as non-negotiables. So it's just too easy for them to resume doing these, because they've never said, I just don't do these things. And once you don't do it, willpower is not required if you don't have to make a decision. And since I don't eat sugar, flour, or drink alcohol or animal products, when they're offered, I never have to make a decision, because it's just, I don't do that. Not that I can't, I just don't. So again, always make sure eating something satiating first, like a sweet potato, so that you're full and you're full of starch. That's really, really going to help. Okay, let me just look at my notes here. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say is one of the reasons people gain so much more weight during the holidays is almost all holiday parties are in the evening. And the problem is that when you eat late, those calories are always stored as fat, always. And most of our get-togethers are in the evening. And again, so make sure that not only pre-eat, but that you've eaten well all day. Don't skimp on the starch or on your calories thinking that you want to have it saved up for that really good stuff later. That is what's going to backfire. That's when you'll overeat, because when you're starving, you will not make good decisions. Never want to be hungry during this time of year, even if you have to eat every couple hours. So always medicate with that sweet potatoes, because the hungrier you find yourself, the more likely you are to overeat. So the 5th strategy for holiday survival, again, if you've waited till now to do it, at least it's never too late, is deal with your emotions. So sometimes we need therapy. Sometimes we need to talk to a trusted friend or a minister or somebody like Dr. Doug Lyle or John Pierre, or join a group like shrinkyourself.com and do Dr. Gould's emotional eating program. If you're using food to medicate, it's going to be worse this time of year. You know, they say in recovery programs, never let yourself get too hungry, too angry, too lonely, too tired, too stressed. I would add too anxious, too bored, too sad, to that, to anything. It's going to be heightened this time of year. As I said earlier, if you're sad, you're sadder. If you're lonely, you're lonelier. And if you're using food to medicate your mood, it's going to be much harder this time of year. So this is something you need to do, and you need to do it now. And I just can't underemphasize how important this is. The reason it's important this time of year is because we have emotional attachments to food. And by that I mean is we might be able to resist hyperpalatable foods throughout the year because we use willpower or in the supportive environment of the Ultimate Weight Loss Program. But what happens when you get to Thanksgiving dinner and grandma made it just for you? And the problem is you love grandma and you have fond memories attached to that food. We have what's called a positive neuroassociation. We also have negative neuroassociations. Like, for example, if you ever ate something like, in my husband's case, he once ate potato salad and he got sick and he vomited. And now 50 years later, he can't eat potato salad. Well, we have the opposite. We have these positive neuroassociation with foods. And if our grandma or our favorite aunt made a special treat for us at the holiday, well, yes, the treat is probably delicious, but it's the love that we want, and we feel like we're rejecting them if we reject the food. And so if you aren't willing to have that conversation with your loved ones that, look, grandma, I'm really sorry. I love you so much. I love the food that you made just for me. I know it's so special, but I can't eat this. Then what you're going to have to do, or you don't have to, but what I suggest you do is say to her, oh my God, grandma, that looks so delicious. I am so full. Would you mind if I take it home and eat it tomorrow when I could really enjoy it? You have to think of these strategies in advance. In the in-person Ultimate Weight Loss Program, we develop about 20 strategies for every possible scenario. That's one of it. You don't have to be like me and say, like, I'm not going to eat that toxic poison crap and get sick, fat, and die. You don't have to do that if that's not your personality. But you want to find, if you really don't want to eat it, don't let the food bully, even if it's your lovely grandmother, make you eat something you don't want to eat. And this is where you have to develop these strategies in advance. That's why I say, have a plan. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You can, remember that Jerry Seinfeld episode where he was served mutton and he didn't like it and he kept putting it in his napkin? I've actually done that. So you have to be true to yourself, what works for you, but have a plan, or you're going to end up eating something you don't want to eat. And believe me, you may regret it. And we know that you'll regret it January 2nd, that's for sure. That's when my Ultimate Weight Loss Program is going to explode. Why not do training for maintaining now, so that when you get to January 2nd, then you'll have the stable brain chemistry so you really can adopt a health-promoting diet and achieve your health and weight goals. So the sixth strategy for surviving the holidays is, I love this one, create new holiday traditions. Why does everything have to be centered around food? So when I was in my 20s, in 1985 and 1986, both my grandparents died, and I was probably closer to my grandparents than even my parents. And when my second grandparent died, my mom just didn't want to do Thanksgiving dinner. I mean, that's a big deal to do that, and it was just the two of us. And so we were invited to my brother's in-law's house, my brother's mother-in-law, father-in-law's house. And they're lovely people, but they worked my family, and I just didn't really feel the connection and want to go. And hopefully they're not watching this, but I just hope they don't take it personally if they are. But the point is what I started doing in 1986 is I started volunteering at the homeless shelter. And it was so gratifying, because one of the things I want to talk to you guys about, especially those of you that are lonely and sad and depressed and anxious, which I have been most of my life if you know my story, is that if you could just take yourself out of your misery and help somebody less fortunate, you will feel better. And as bad off as you think you are, I promise you, there are hundreds of people that are worse off. I mean, as upset as you are that you have to eat vegetables for breakfast, there's people that have no food to eat. And as sad and lonely as you are, there are people that are sadder and lonelier. And when you reach out to other people this time of year, you will feel better, and you will feel better about yourself. So I started volunteering at the Los Angeles Mission and serving dinner to the homeless. And it was actually tremendous fun, because all the celebrities were there, and it became an annual tradition for me. And it ended about 8 o'clock. And then I went to my brother's in-laws house, and I still visited with the family. But by then dinner was over. Most of the food was put away. I wasn't tempted. And that became my holiday tradition for many years. Create your own holiday tradition that doesn't involve food. Now, New Year's Eve, I'm pretty much against alcohol. Once you've had had somebody die from being hit by a drunk driver, you realize that there's no reason to have alcohol in the world, in my opinion. I think it's horrible that people are even allowed to drink, because I don't think most people do drink responsibly. And even if they did, it's horrible for weight gain, as you know. So, and it's terrible for weight loss. So we like to celebrate New Year's Eve, but we didn't want to be out with all the drunks. And so about, I think 8 or 10 years ago, we started having vision board parties. And those are the things that we tell in the Ultimate Weight Loss Program, that John Pierre wants everyone to create an inspiration board. And so for the last 8 or 10 years, what we do on New Year's Eve, instead of drinking alcohol, is we create our life for the next year. We make these vision boards and we invite friends, and we have a group of friends that we do that every year. And it can involve food, but that's not what it's about. One of the things we do as a family, I'm Jewish, so I don't really celebrate Christmas, but if we take a hike. And it's amazing when I go to this place called Franklin Canyon, how many other families are hiking too. That's so inspirational. So think of ways that you can celebrate with your loved ones, engage with your loved ones all year round, but especially at the holidays, that don't involve food. Maybe playing a special game. And my husband's family, they played Monopoly every year. You know, there's Cards Against Humanity. So create new holiday traditions that don't involve food. And they can be very meaningful, and they can be even more gratifying than the ones that do involve food. And think about volunteering, guys. I can't stress that enough. The graduation speaker at my college, Cal State Northridge, was Marlee Matlin, and she said that it's important that everyone volunteers. And you know what, as busy as you are, everybody has an hour a week. And I'm telling you, that 1 hour that you help someone else will make the other 167 or 168 hours of your week so much better, especially this time of year. You think you're lonely? Well, then you should go to the hospital where I volunteer, because there's a lot of people that are lonelier than you. And they're there on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, and I'm going to be there on all those days. And I'm telling you, your heart will explode, and you won't need food, because you'll get so much dopamine and serotonin in your brain, because that's what happens. That's why Mother Teresa did what she did. Yes, she was a saint and a good person, but she did this because it made her feel good. And so this time of year is the most important time. And if you can't get out of your house, you can volunteer at home. You can be on the phone. You can be on a suicide hotline. You could get a little recorder at the Braille Institute and read from the magazine that the blind person chose. There's always a way to help others. That's what the holiday's about. It's not about eating pumpkin pie in gingerbread houses. This is what it's about. So get into the holiday spirit, and the best way to do that is to help other people. When you go to malls, you don't have to go to malls and be tempted by all those cues, because if you're a food addict, it's the worst place to be is in a mall this time of year. You can buy everything online. Let's face it, nobody wants a stupid fruitcake. If there's kids involved, I understand that they need presents, but what do kids want? They want money. They want gift cards. So please consider doing that. You can do all your shopping online. You never have to be in triggering environments. Okay. So the 7th strategy for surviving the holidays is going to be really hard for the women watching, many of them, especially if you're highly agreeable and you're people pleasing, and it's just say no. If you can't say no, I suggest you buy one of these pens on Amazon.
No! 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 No!
When you say yes to someone else, especially if it's doing something you don't want to do, you're saying no to yourself. Now, I want to do a little grid here, and hopefully you can see this. But before I do that, what I want to say is, if you can't say no directly, like if you're one of these people that can't, at least buy some time and say something like, you know what, let me get back to you on that. So for example, if somebody asks you to do something you don't want to do, you're overcommitted, like in person, say, hey, we're having this thing, can you come? Well, if you're a people pleaser, you're going to say yes, whether you're busy, whether you want to. If they say, hey, can you come and can you make cookies for the PTA? You're going to say yes. So instead of saying no, if you can't say no, what you want to say is, you know what? I need to get back to you on that. I think I have something that night. Let me check my calendar. And then you can go home. And then if it's easier, you can do it through a text or an email on the phone. So buy yourself some time. Now, realize that it's different. Like, you may not be able to say no to your mother-in-law or to your boss's wife. But if the girl that you just met Tuesday in yoga class invites you to her Thanksgiving dinner, you got to prioritize. And one of the things I'm going to show you, and hopefully you can see this, is what I do is when I'm faced with a decision, I take a piece of paper and I put a big cross in the middle and I make a grid like this. And then I, hold on. I'm going to hope, I should have prepared this in advance. Okay. Okay, so there's 4 categories in the grid. One is things that you have to do, that you want to do. One is things that you have to do that you don't want to do. One is things that you don't have to do that you want to do. And one is things that you don't have to do then you don't want to do. And those things that are in that category go first. So to give you an example, things that I have to do that I want to do is walk Bailey every day. I have to. We live in an apartment, but I really want to. But if I had the flu and 105 fever, that might be a have to, don't want to do. Now, things that I don't have to do, but that I want to do, for example, might be going to a paint class. I mean, I don't have to, but I want to do it. Things that I don't have to do that I don't want to do, this is where all the people pleasing lies. And so these are the things you have to deal with first. And so what I suggest is make sure you do the things that you absolutely have to do first. Get the fun stuff out of the way. So the things that you have to do and you want to do, I do that first thing in the morning. I have to walk Bailey and I want to walk Bailey. And then the things that you have to do that you don't want to do, you kind of have to prioritize and get those done soon. For many of you, that might be going to work. But the things that you don't have to do, that you don't want to do, don't do them. Just say no. And that is a skill and it can be learned. I know there's wonderful self-help books and seminars on there. When I say no, I feel guilty, but you really do need to prioritize this time of year. You can't say yes to everyone and everything, because when you do, you're saying no to yourself. And you're an important person too. So just to recap, the 7 strategies for surviving the holidays. Controlling your environment is number 1. Keeping established routines is number 2. Finding ways to manage stress is number 3. Having a plan, and of course implementing that plan, is number 4. Dealing with your emotions is number 5. Creating new holiday traditions that don't involve food, or that involve compliant food, because, for example, we do a pre-Thanksgiving dinner that's SOS free. And number 7, learning to just say no. So that's what I do, and I expect to sail through these holidays. Oh, Sharon McRae loves that tip. Yeah, visit people in nursing homes. We all should do that, actually, really. That's just we say it in my religion, it's a mitzvah, and we all need to do that. And I'll tell you, it takes you out of yourself and your grief and your misery when you see how unfortunate other people really are. So I wish you guys a very happy, healthy holiday season. You know, I've been looking through the medical literature, Gustavo, on both PubMed and Medscape, because I really wanted to figure out who gains weight and who doesn't in general and during the holiday season. And what came up is the people that maintain their weight during this stressful time are people that have support. Now, if you're in the Ultimate Weight Loss Program, you have some support. And if you're not, consider joining. But what Gustavo and I want to do is we want to offer you additional support. So what we've done is we've created an 8-webinar series, and we're bringing some of the best experts to you to help you navigate this stressful time of year and give you even more strategies. So far confirmed, we have Dr. Alan Goldhammer, Dr. Doug Lyle, Dr. Joan Ifland. I just put an email out to Dr. Roger Gould, and we have some lay people that have survived the holidays and have lost 100 to 200 pounds to tell you how they navigate this time of year. So we'll give you a chance to register. I think it's on my website already, but it's going to be 8 one-hour webinars that are going to be on Wednesdays, 8 consecutive Wednesdays from Halloween to Christmas, 5 p.m. Pacific time, and you will get to interact with our experts and ask questions. And I think support is really going to help you this time of year. So if you enjoyed this webinar, I hope you'll join us for our 8 webinar series. This is quite a gargantuan undertaking for Gustavo. He does it weekly for Dr. McDougall, but we've never done 8 in a row like this, and we hope to bring you the information that could really help you get through this holidays and just sail through smoothly. Like just like it doesn't matter if it's Christmas, it's just Tuesday. So thank you guys so much for watching. Anything you want to add, Gustavo?
Yes, no, I think that this being able to, knowing that you have once a week, you have a time for yourself, and that you're going to be with other people that have the same goals, and you're going to get support. It's really crucial for all of us that have a food addiction, and I include myself. So I look forward to it.
Right. And, the other thing you can do, guys, because I really want you to consider, I didn't expect to talk about this, but I really want everyone to consider volunteering this holiday season. Even if you're a kid or you have kids, you could go to the shelter, and even if you can't adopt a dog, Sharon McRae, for example, with 3 children, you can spend an hour a week brushing them, walking them. You don't know how, it's really until you give, you don't receive. I really do believe that. And look, you guys know I'm as busy as anyone. I get hundreds of emails a day and I'm watching the boards, but I always make time to volunteer. I have since I was about 20 years old. And I'm telling you, especially if you're depressed or sad or anxious or lonely, it will help you. When I lost my 4th baby and was stuck in my house for a year with panic disorder and agoraphobia, I still left 1 hour a week to go work at the Braille Institute, because when I got there, that was the best hour of the week, because I saw that there were people that were worse off than me. As bad off as I thought I was, and as sorry as I felt for myself when I got there and worked with people that had been shot in their head and lost their sight, and medical doctors who no longer could operate. And it was just, you need to really do this. I'm telling you, I mean, this is what John Pierre is all about, whether it's people or animals. You start helping others, because you will help yourself. And trust me, you won't be eating so much, because you will feel so good from the love and the help that you give others. So thank you guys. I wish you a happy, healthy, sane holiday season. Turn the lights off at Halloween. Don't buy that candy. Don't make that mistake, because it all starts at Halloween. 63 days of abstinence. That's what's required. And I hope to see you guys on the webinar series, which starts 2 weeks from tonight.
Very good. I also hope to see a lot of you there. And I think that it's already on your website, AJ.
I believe so, eatunprocessed.com. And we should really start.
But I think that you're going to send, I think you're going to send an email or something at some point to remind people.
And Gustavo, when they get the webinar replay, maybe we can tell them how they can register.
Right,
right. We do know our first guest confirmed is Dr. Joan Ifland. We don't know the date yet. Dr. Goldhammer is going to be in November and Dr. Lyle in December, but at least half of the people will be medical professionals. Lindsay says she's the cutest dog.
She is.
Yeah.
Well, very good. Thank you again, Chef AJ. We all appreciate you giving freely of your time, and hope to see you.
And I appreciate you giving freely of your time. I mean, you're as busy as I am, and thank you so much for being the webinar wizard and setting this up.
All right, very good. Well, thank you, everyone, and we'll see you soon. Okay.
Bye, everybody. Say goodbye.
Bye.